So what y'all, man? I know I'm doing something new before any of y'all ask. Yes, I'm doing something new. And I just said that, I apologize if that came out kind of, but I know how I always record on the window and stuff, and I don't know, sometimes I just want to make videos to just let out how I feel, and I'm not gonna lie, I actually have a topic in mind that the Lord Himself gave me. And the reason why I say the Lord Himself is because I don't want to take credit for anything that I know He does. Not a single thing I want to take credit, and it's not, obviously it's not just to show that, I want God to be in control, but I also want to show how to really live out as a Christian, and not just live it by your lips. But obviously, we fall short. I want to get that out the way. Not necessarily out the way, but I want to keep that there, that we all fall short. And I'm gonna be real, let me see, because sometimes I have to write down the stuff that I'm trying to talk about, because that's just personally how I like doing it, because it helps me. But before we even get into it, you already know I've been trying to at least talk about a verse with y'all before I talk about, what it is that I'm trying to talk about. And also, Bible app, it's free. It helps you with prayer, a guided prayer. You have guided scripture, and there's a lot of other pretty cool features you have on here. You have plans. Let's see. Yeah, you can find plans, stuff like that. Like there's, I don't know, it's pretty cool. And also, you got all the books in the Bible in here too, which is pretty cool in case, you leave your Bible somewhere. And they get you with they hit you with a verse of the day type of thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But our verse of the day is Mark 11, verse 24. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. I love that. Some people might understand this, some people might not. But that's Mark 11, verse 24. I'm gonna put in the description. Some I'm gonna start doing too. Whatever scriptures I get, like verse of the days, I'm gonna just put it in the description, whole verse. This was NIV, but what I really wanted to talk about was, how we are so used to how the world treats us versus how God treats us. And the reason why, I don't know, this topic feels so powerful is because it really resonates with me. And the reason why I say that is because there's times out of my day where, let's say I mess up on something, and my thing, I don't like disappointing at all. Obviously, just because I don't like disappointing people or disappointing myself doesn't mean it's not gonna happen. It's life. But at the same time, you feel me? We're so used to how the world treats us because we've been living here. We this is where we live, so we get really used to how the world views us, how the world, talks about us, and how, what I'm trying to say, how the world really sees you versus how God sees you. And that's something that, I don't know, I felt like I've been trying to get out for the longest time. And I don't know, I think about this a lot because it's crazy, because this happens in my day-to-day life. Like, let's say for instance, I try to help my mom, because there's plenty of times where I've tried to help my mom and I felt like I made things worse. Like, let's say my mom tells me to do the dishes because she can't. Let's say she's upstairs or something, and I'm doing the dishes, and then let's say I drop one of the dishes and it breaks. And let's say if it was her favorite, it was her favorite plate and it broke, then I feel sick to my stomach. And before she even says anything, I automatically I feel guilty, and I feel like, damn, like she's not gonna forgive me, you know. And even when she did forgive me, it sits there. It still sits in my mind. It still sits there. Obviously, we have to also acknowledge that if somebody forgives you, they've forgiven you. So you got to accept it. And most of the times, I feel like the reason why I don't accept forgiveness all the way is because I be feeling guilty, and instead of accepting forgiveness, I accept what the enemy says of me, or what I think of me. What I think of me, not what is me. So honestly, it's really a difficult topic, because there's so much that I know somebody will resonate with. That there's a lot, because it just blows my mind, because there was so many times where, man, like, you don't know how many times I messed up at my job. Right here, I messed up at my job, and I felt like it was over, but yet God gave me another chance. And it's the same thing with people. They've given me chances, and I try my best not to take advantage of that. And it's crazy, because it doesn't matter what it is that I do. Even if I upset my friends, I'm always gonna feel that guilt, and I try not to. I'm not saying I feel that guilt today, but there's some, what I'm trying to say. These kind of things are also these kind of things are also the things you bring up to God, and you talk to Him about, and you really tell Him that, oh, I'm still feeling guilty, even though my mom forgave me for dropping her favorite plate. She forgave me, Lord, and I still I feel guilty, because I'm just so used to how the world treats me, instead of how versus how you treat me. And it's really, I know this topic I just know it's strong. I feel that it's so strong, and it's something so important that we leave out the picture. We always like painting pictures, but we leave out the most important pieces to paint. So I feel like this was really a topic like heaven sent. Like this is a perfect, like this is perfect. This is a perfect topic. And I know somebody's gonna comment on this, not because of what I know, but obviously I have faith that somebody's gonna comment on it and be like, some along the lines of them resonating with this, or them understanding this message. And hey, there's just so many like there's a lot of stuff that we are accustomed to. There's a lot of stuff that we're used to. We're used to disappointing people, and then them not forgiving us. But then when you go to God, and you're asking for forgiveness, or you don't even ask for forgiveness, and He tells you that He forgives you for whatever you did, it just it leaves you thinking like, man, like the world didn't treat me like this. The world has never treated me like this. In fact, the world always condemned me. I never treated myself this way. I've always condemned myself for the things that I did. But God would just tell me, it's okay, my son, come back to me. And this goes for a lot of things. And the reason why I really feel this is because it's like, bro, there's so many stuff that I messed up in my life, man. Even yesterday, the day before, there was every day where there's always a day where, let's say you forget that you mess up, or you have no idea that you mess up, until you really sit on it and see, what I'm trying to say, what it is that you messed up on. You're gonna be like, damn, bro, I gotta do better. I want to do better. Your heart longs to do better. I'm not saying everybody's heart, longs to do bad, but I feel like everybody, or at least majority of us, want to do better, but feel like you can't carry it out. And that's crazy, because that's something that I was really struggling with. For the longest time, I was always struggling with, I always seen that in myself, that when it comes to the gospel, and it comes to videos and TikToks and content like this, I don't mean to make myself sound prideful, but I always had this feeling that, I can still do God's will, but sometimes it was difficult. But it wasn't even like, I don't know, I looked at it as if the enemy was always trying to bring me down. And another thing is, just because you're highly favored by God doesn't mean you're not highly favored by the devil. And because, I do the right thing for God, obviously the devil doesn't want you to do that. He distorts technically what God makes. So like with good music, for the soul, worship music, obviously there's worldly music, and it's crazy because whatever God really does make, the devil just distorts that, or he doesn't do that exactly, but he does the opposite of what God does. And it's just crazy that it's fascinating because the devil doesn't even really know like that. He just wants to do the opposite. He sees God do something amazing, so he wants to, cause destruction. He sees God uplift somebody, so he wants to do the opposite. You know what I'm trying to say? That's how the devil works. And honestly, I'm not gonna say that all the time it is the devil, but most of the time it's us. And it's crazy that we give him so much credit, because that's how you see where it is. Like there's a fine line that we draw between what the devil does and between what we do. And sometimes it's it's clashing. So if you know that the devil's trying to do this with you, and that you're trying to do this, it's hard to keep it separate. And that's why a lot of us, like especially me, sometimes I try not to complain. I'm exactly like y'all. I'm human just like you guys, and it's so like it's sad, but it's so beautiful at the same time, because you really understand what pain is in life. And it's crazy that because there's good in the world, there's also bad. And it just because so much good is happening in your life, that means that there also has to be a point in life where everything goes bad. And obviously it's crazy because I wouldn't say, it was this video I watched, but I wouldn't say I'm aiming for, happiness, but, being at peace. Because if you were to be happy, I don't know, I'm not saying that I don't believe in happiness, but at the same time, I feel like, it's, I don't know how to put it into words, but we're so led astray, and there's always like there's just a huge misunderstanding. Everybody wants to chase happiness. They always want to be happy, but that's not how life is. And I really just I can't say I've been chasing peace, but I don't want to say I've been chasing peace, because if you chase peace isn't just something you chase. Peace is God. So that's another thing that I was obviously misunderstood with too, when I used to always say I just want peace, but before I didn't know that God was peace, so I'd have to chase him for that peace. And a lot of things we look at as peace, and it's really not peace. When you go and smoke and you get high and you don't feel nothing, you're gonna think, I'm not saying that it doesn't bring you peace, but at the same time, there's a cost, whether it is the money that you have in your pocket, or whether it is, you feeling away after. And I'm saying that for me, and there's probably other people that smoke weed too. And obviously I'm just like you guys, but that doesn't give an excuse to, continue in that. And that's something really important that I'm glad that that God helped me bring that out, because that's the same thing with this is other thing I wanted to talk about. I might as well put it in here too, because I don't know, I love talking and making the longer videos and stuff. But it's crazy because over the weekend my car broke down and basically it wasn't working and stuff, and I was feeling so terrible. I was feeling sick to my stomach. But then I just remembered, God has always had a plan. And it's crazy that when my car was getting fixed, before when my car broke down, I was feeling sick. But at the same time, I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm never gonna get a car. I didn't immediately jump to that conclusion. I jumped to, I can get a new car or it can be fixed. And I don't know, I felt the peace of God. And although I wasn't trying to think about it, I thought about it a couple times, and I finally let it out to God. And I was like, yeah, I'm really been feeling this way because, I shouldn't have to explain too much, but at the same time, I still choose to explain why I feel a way towards God, even though He knows, but I still do that. And it shows that, you're trying to be like this with God. And it's difficult, but it's crazy because for a little bit, I didn't even have too much faith before my car got fixed. I literally had faith as small as a mustard seed, like Jesus said. Even, your faith as small as a mustard seed can still move mountains. And He showed me that. Because even though I had this much faith left, I still showed God I had faith. And it's crazy that before my car got fixed, while my car was getting fixed, my dad told me, oh, let's just have faith, that the car works. And it clicked, and I was like, that's crazy. And then the car worked after. And after it turned on, I just knew it was Him. And that's crazy because that's what my dad was talking about, having faith before my car was getting fixed. And it was like a little reminder that God had put in Him to tell me. And it is fixed. Obviously, I had to spend a little bit of money, but that's why I'm glad that I had saved. And man, I don't want to stay up here and stay up here for too long, but that's really what it was, man. And I don't know how I had my phone held right here. It was like in this little, little corner. Hey, I was trying to be creative, but I'm gonna give full credit to God for that. And I know my camera looks a little dirty, but hey, bruh, we got this video done. I hope you guys have been taking care of yourselves. And I know I say that every video, but I really mean it, because not all of us takes good care of each other, or even of ourselves, or family, loved ones, and stuff like that. And I can't even say I always take care of myself, but it's the journey that we're on, not the destination we're supposed to be focused on. Because He, the one who thinks the journey is over, is truly lost. Same thing goes for she. Any female that feels like the journey's over, it's just a sign that you're lost. And I'm not sure if it was Isaiah 40:66. Wait, was it? I forgot. It was somewhere in Isaiah where it said, when the time is right, our Lord will make it happen. And don't forget Ephesians 6:10, to be strong in the Lord and in His mighty power. So start focusing less on what situation you're in, and start telling that situation how big God is, over how you telling God how big the situation is, if that makes sense. Like, I'd rather tell my problems how big my God is than tell God how big my problems are. Because there's nothing He can't do. It's nothing He can't do. But man, God bless y'all. I'm about to go on and get back to work. I took a nice little 19 minutes, and I'm on the clock, and I did this. Not by myself, but by the goodness, the mercy of God, by His grace. God bless y'all. I love y'all, man. Have a good one.